Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new build in my series Building Nancy Drew in The Sims 4. Today we are continuing our sort of little sub-series in which I design an entire Sims house or apartment based off of a single Nancy Drew game. The color scheme of that game, the mystery of the game, the aesthetics of that game, things that you might find in that game. I have been letting the patrons over at Mystique Manor decide on the order for these builds. This is our fourth one, I believe, and this is Alibi in Ashes. So for an Alibi in Ashes inspired home in The Sims 4, I wanted to go very suburban, like almost oppressively suburban. Because Alibi in Ashes takes place in Nancy's hometown in River Heights, and the whole kind of joke, or not even joke, but just theme of that game is just kind of small town life, small town suburban life, close-knit communities, little town festivals and fun goings on. And so I really wanted this house to feel like one that you would see in a classic American suburban kind of neighborhood. And I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's exactly how I wanted it to turn out. It's very symmetrical, and the landscaping is nicely manicured, but like a little bit overgrown, so there's a nice garden, but again, very symmetrical. So there's not a lot of wild, crazy plants going on. There's very consistent landscaping. We have a white picket fence. We have a sidewalk leading up to the front. We have a grill out back. We have lots of white trim, a nice little front deck and patio, just all the kinds of things that you would expect to see in a standard American suburban home we have in this build. The front yard is just landscaping, and the backyard has kind of a lot of the classic yard items you might see in a suburban home. I wanted to go with yellow for the primary color scheme of this game because I was basing it sort of off of Nancy's house in the game Alibi in Ashes. When you kind of go into Nancy's house, there's a lot of pastel yellow around the first level of the home, and so that's the primary color that we go with for this house as well. Of course, all of the white trim is just kind of classic suburban, but then the yellow is the primary color that we have. Whenever I used other colors, it was just kind of pastel versions of colors. So we've got a little bit of pastel blue because yellow and blue go nicely together. And on the upper level for the bedrooms, there's also a pastel green and kind of a pastel purple room. So very pastel, very springy, very bright, which I definitely think is the vibe of Alibi in Ashes. It is a very kind of bright, happy game. Despite Nancy, having some struggles within the game, getting arrested and whatnot, I think the game itself just has such a upbeat soundtrack. It's sunny the entire time. The actual mystery itself isn't too dire or spooky or anything like that, and so I definitely didn't want this house to be like that either. I wanted it to be very bright, very sunny, very springtime, summer vibes, and a perfect little family home. So, like, when I'm talking oppressively suburban, I mean white picket fence, 2 kids, and a dog. I believe the parents in this family are a lawyer and a teacher. I did make a little family to live in this house in my save file. But I put a nice little slide in the backyard, a couple of bikes, a grill, some pots to put some flowers, a nice little patio table. And again, it's completely symmetrical. So even down to the trees and the windows, the front porch and the back porch are exactly the same size. And I think that it looks a lot like the homes that you see in kind of newer developments where they just build a bunch of homes all at once and they all kind of look the same with just a couple colors changed out here and there. But yeah, that's what we went for. I did cut out the building of the floor plan just because it took a while. I am pretty happy with the floor plan. It was able to include all of the things that I thought were important for a standard suburban home. So we have a nice big kitchen, we have a dining room, we have a living room that ends up being a 3-bedroom home, and then the main bedroom has its own ensuite bathroom and a walk-in closet. And then the other 2 bedrooms share a hallway bathroom. There's a half bath on the lower level with a little laundry room as well. Gotta have all of those classic little homey features, like a little laundry room. And I brought that idea into the kitchen as well. I was like, okay, what kinds of things are included in every single American suburban home? So we needed to have a dishwasher, we needed to have a microwave, we needed to have a coffee pot, things that I don't always put in builds, and I usually base more around the characters, but in this one, it's like, no, those things are musts. I also did play around with the countertop size a little bit because the kitchen was a little too small to have a full island. I think the Sims would be able to walk around the counters as they were, but it was just a little too tight. And these counters work relatively well when they're kind of overlaid a little bit. There's a little bit of clipping that you can see when the camera moves in game, but it's honestly not too bad. So I was pretty happy with it. I used this tile from the new High School Years expansion pack as kind of a backsplash. Definitely wanted to have a very classic feeling kind of kitchen with a perfect little backsplash and a perfect little island, little broom hanging on the wall. Oh, and yes, dog bowls, because of course the perfect little suburban family is gonna have a dog. So I did include a couple of dog bowls. That was also kind of inspired by Togo in Alibi and Ashes, because Togo does live in the house. The idea of one of the parents being a lawyer was also inspired by Nancy's dad, by Carson Drew, of course, who is a lawyer. I used a lot of Parenthood and Dream Home Decorator in this build, specifically in the kitchen and dining room here. It's basically entirely Parenthood and Dream Home Decorator with a couple of base game items, and a little bit of Tiny Living as well. I used a lot of the Tiny Living art because it just kind of feels like it could be in any build, which is sort of what I was going for. It's almost generic, which I really like how this house looks because it is almost a little too perfect. Like there's a nice plant in every corner and every wall space is taken up by a beautiful painting, and the white matches throughout the entire house, and the wood tones match through the entire house. Like it's a little bit too perfect, like almost uncanny valley suburban home type of perfect, which is exactly what I was going for. So very pleased with how that turned out. I do think the house looks very pretty as well. It's just a little too pretty. And I included a little bread box as well because I thought that was cute, and cluttered it up with a decent amount of clutter to make it look like a very useful kitchen. I imagine one of the parents really enjoys kind of cooking and baking. It's a very homey house. I wanted it to feel very family friendly. So there's lots of kids activities, there's the Parenthood board, all sorts of things that and even the traits make it very child friendly, like the good schools, the child play lot, the homey lot. Definitely wanted to make it very kid friendly. I decorated the house for a child sim and a toddler sim, and I think in my mind the child sim is close to aging up to a teen and the toddler is relatively new. But that's something that can totally be played around with too, and we'll talk about that when we get to the rooms themselves. I gotta say, I am loving the Everyday Clutter kit. The 2 things that I've placed on the wall here, the tote bag and that key shelf, are both from the Everyday Clutter kit, and I've placed multiple things from the Everyday Clutter kit throughout this build. I actually use several of the kits quite regularly. The Everyday Clutter kit is absolutely incredible, but I have been using the plant kit quite a bit for building as well. I use the Country Kitchen kit quite a bit. I get a fairly decent amount of use out of the kits. I know not everyone loves them, but I've been getting my money's worth, I think. I just like the how new they look and how fresh, and just the little things that are added in them that make a huge difference. Like in the kids' bedroom, I use the pastel pop kit, or several items from the pastel pop kit, and I just love how it turned out. So yeah, very happy with that. Decorating the entryway hallway up here as well. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze on this upper level, but in my experience, Sims actually do okay on these one tile kind of spaces. I don't know if that's gotten better over time or something, but they usually are able to navigate pretty well without bumping into each other. And I mean, they're not perfect. Even if there is enough room, they're going to get stuck on things sometimes, or not want to go places because another sim is going somewhere else. But I wanted to make sure that this hallway was pretty well decorated and pretty filled in, just to kind of continue going on with that like expertly decorated kind of look that often happens in these kind of curated type homes, I might say. So over here in the living room now, I'm working on a little office space, a little space for the lawyer sim. I put a bunch of diplomas on the wall because, of course, you have to show off your achievements and your wealth and your successes in your oppressively suburban home. So I've got those up. I really enjoy this little office space. I put a bunch of plants in here too, just kind of a nice little table. I use this lamp all the time, some files. So I think this is a nice little space. I think it would work for the teacher sim as well. The teacher sims spend most of their time kind of grading papers, so they don't need to use the computer as much in the early stages of the career. I also put the little yoga mat object, again from the Everyday Clutter Kit, over in the office space, and then the fireplace, which is also from Parenthood, and then the nice little living room space over here, which is basically entirely Dream Home Decorator, which is a pack that I think works perfectly for building really nice suburban homes, because it comes with so many items that match each other. That's something that we really struggle with in The Sims 4, is finding enough items that actually match and consistently go together, which is why the Dream Home Decorator pack works so well, because in a highly curated home, in a suburban home that perhaps was designed specifically for the owners of the home, then you can choose every single aspect of it and make it look as perfect as you want it to. And Dream Home Decorator is perfect for that because all of the colors match. It's like a perfectly interior design kind of experience. Put a couple little books and magazines on the table there. Again, just trying to fill in all of the empty space. I didn't think that the owners of this house would want it to look like there was any part of the house that wasn't finished. It all would need to look perfect. We're all about appearances in our oppressively suburban homes. And then this is the half bath with the laundry room. So there's a stacked laundry over on the side. There's a toilet and a sink. It is pretty tight. I think everything will still work. I think the Sims will still make it through. If it doesn't, I'm sure the sink could be scooted over a little bit to actually make it work and fit. I just wanted it where it was because it looked better rather than being directly next to the door and directly squished into the wall. Similar with this bathroom as well, I really, really wanted to use this tub with the cute little whales on it because I just thought that was perfect for like a kid's bathroom. But I couldn't put it where the window was, and I wanted the window to stay because, one, it's nice to have a window in the bathroom, and two, because I can't throw off the symmetry of our perfect little suburban home. So I didn't want to do that. I think this bathroom will work. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze, but hopefully the Sims can make it all the way over to that sink over on that side. And honestly, let's be real, Sims don't often use the sink you want them to use anyway, so it might just, be part of the Sims experience for the Sims to not be able to reach that sink and to go use a different one. This is the main bathroom. All of the bathrooms have the same kind of fixings, installments, whatever word you'd like to use. I initially was going to try and use this big jacuzzi tub here, but then decided to use this beautiful tub. It's my favorite one from the Spa Day pack. There is a little bit of spa day in this build, not a ton, but just a little bit. And then decorating the bathroom with an appropriate amount of clutter. It's not too busy, but it has all of the things that the Sims would require. And everything, of course, in line with the color scheme. Like we got the pastel blue going on in there. Over here, we're going to start working on the main bedroom, which is going to be kind of a pastel blue and a pastel green. And then the walk-in closet as well. And this is almost exclusively Dream Home Decorator as well. I was basically able to include everything that kind of reminded me of Alibi and Ashes. I suppose I could have included an ice cream machine in the kitchen, and that would have, kind of heralded Scoop. So that's probably a little bit of an oversight. I definitely could have included an ice cream machine for Scoop. I mostly ran out of counter space, and I thought a microwave was more functional and appropriate for the kind of suburban home that I was going for. But an ice cream machine would be perfect for Alibi and Ashes. I also didn't get to include a piano. I really wanted to include a piano somewhere, but there just wasn't space. I could have put it over in the office, but the Sims that I imagined having the career really, really would need a computer. Both the lawyer and teacher Sims require that, and it's just useful to have anyway for fun, for building fun and ordering a bunch of things. So I went with the computer instead of the piano. But if you wanted this build to be even more Alibi and Ashes themed, I think swapping out the microwave for an ice cream machine and then swapping out the little office space for a piano would make it even more Alibi and Ashes. There's not a whole ton of antiques in here because Alexi's shop kind of stands out in terms of style compared to the rest of River Heights, which probably makes sense given his personality and his storyline. It makes sense that it's not quite in line with everything else. And other than that, it's mostly based off of Nancy's house. Nancy's house specifically, Nancy's family. That's also part of the reason I wanted to have a really nice kitchen was because of Hannah Gruen, who is an expert cook and baker. So I wanted to make sure that the kitchen would be fully stocked and appropriate for such activities. So this is the kids' bedroom that I mentioned. I used a lot of items from the High School Years expansion pack, as well as the pastel pop kit, and then just kind of some random things as well. It's basically just all of the pastel colors. We've got pastel blue, pink, green, yellow, and purple. So any pastel color I wanted to include in here. And I imagined that this child sim is really crafty. They're really creative. They're really into art. And so I gave them a nice desk with some of the knitting supplies. So this room also uses several items from the Nifty Knitting Stuff Pack. If you don't have the Nifty Knitting Stuff Pack, a kids crafting table would basically do exactly the same thing in terms of what kind of personality I was imagining for this child sim. But yeah, they're very crafty. So they like to knit, they like to cross stitch, they like to color, they like to draw, they like to do macaroni art, they like to do anything crafty and creative. And I think as they grow up, that's what they would enjoy as well, kind of the more creative sim activities. It was really fun using some items from High School Years and the pastel pop kit. I still I'm like not even remotely sick of the High School Years build and buy category yet. Sometimes I reach a point where I've used enough items from a pack where it's like, I don't know if I'm really going to go back to that one. I don't think I'll ever get sick of the build buy items from the High School Years pack. The colors are perfect. I love the variety of different styles. It's so perfect for making kid rooms and teen rooms in The Sims. I just love it. Now this room is for a toddler sim, and I imagined that they are a little bit more inquisitive. They're more into learning about dinosaurs and learning about animals and just learning about the world around them. So I decorated this room with lots of little dinosaurs and lots of little animal kind of paraphernalia, little toys, perfect for any toddler space. So that's basically the house. I think we're going to pop out pretty soon here and do a little live tour. I'll kind of take you through our Alibi in Ashes inspired suburban home, and you'll have to let me know what you think if you're getting the Alibi in Ashes vibes. All right, here we are at our Alibi in Ashes inspired suburban home. We have our perfect little white picket fence. We have the white windows, cute little flower boxes, and everything based off of the pastel yellow kind of theme that we see in Nancy's house in River Heights. The front garden and the front porch are very symmetrical, nicely manicured. Everything looks very nice and very kept up well. Some beautiful little flower pots, a rocking chair, of course, in our classic yellow. So you enter into the entryway, which has a nice little closet for storage, some artwork on the walls, and then this kind of little nook for taking off shoes and putting important items. Let's go over to the kitchen and dining room space first. So here we have our lovely little pastel dining room with all of a nice big dining table, some nice art, a little lemonade, pitcher, the parenthood board, of course, and then our very parenthood kitchen, fully stocked with everything that your Sims would need for some cooking and baking. Coffee pot, microwave, stove, dishwasher, perfect little suburban kitchen with all of the fixings. And then if you go to the other side of the house on the first level, you come into the living room, which has this very nice little sitting area, perfect little television with a video game station for your child Sims to play on, a nice little fireplace, fire being a big theme within Alibi in Ashes, a nice little station for a lawyer, just like Carson Drew from Alibi in Ashes. Little workstation could be for a teacher as well. And then over here we have the half bath with laundry room space, just nice and pastel in those blue colors. And then if we go up the stairs, we come into the second floor landing. So on the second floor landing, we just have some nice artwork, a nicely little decorated space. We have two kids' bedrooms on the doors here. So this first one is very pastel pop, perfect for a child sim or a teen sim who enjoys crafting, lots of craft supplies, specifically knitting. Just a fun, very pastel, bright room. The second kids' room is for a inquisitive toddler who loves dinosaurs and animals, decorated in the beautiful pastel blue and green colors with some yellow accents. And then if we go through the final door, well, I guess second to final door, we have the kids' bathroom, the shared bathroom in the hallway here with the cute little whales. Kind of a tight squeeze, but hopefully still functional. And then on this side, we have the main bedroom. So we have a couple of dressers, a beautiful little bed space with pastel blue and green color scheme. We have two attached rooms here, a nice walk-in closet for our Sims, and then a final main bath with everything you could desire. Nice shower and tub area and a nice double vanity. So that is our Alibi in Ashes inspired home. Oh, I forgot to show you the backyard. Also our backyard with a cute little slide, a couple of toys, a nice eating area, a grill, and then a couple of bikes with the similarly symmetric landscaping. So yes, this is our Alibi in Ashes inspired home. Basically as suburban as I could possibly make a home was my goal, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think I'm definitely getting Alibi in Ashes vibes, especially with the beautiful yellow, but I would love to know what you all think. Are you getting Alibi in Ashes from this home? Would you think Alibi in Ashes if you saw this build and didn't know which game I was trying to go for? Let me know what aspects you think are Alibi in Ashes. and let me know what games you are excited to see reimagined in The Sims next. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. As always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.